Coming up, interactive content, TikTok, and the attention economy.
You're listening to the Keep Optimizing podcast to increase your traffic, improve your conversion rates, and grow your profits.
Hello and welcome to our last episode of 2021. I'm Chloe Thomas, the host of this marketing focus podcast. And if you're not familiar with our format, each month we focus on a different marketing method. And each week I interview a different expert to explore the latest advice on making that marketing method work for you. This month has been all about content marketing. And we're rounding up the month with a dive into the latest content marketing trends. I'm calling it interactive content, but it's kind of a lot more than that. We've covered a couple of angles on this during our new month back in August, and those were super popular episodes. So when I saw today's guest speaking at E-commerce Expo earlier this year, I knew I needed to get him onto the podcast to share his interactive content tips with all of you too. So coming up, expect quite a lot about TikTok because that's where it's all kicking off right now. Expect a lot on the attention economy, just what it is. How do we avoid sameness? We're also going to be talking a lot about authenticity. If I haven't said that already, apologies if I have. A bit about UGC, social commerce, APIs. There's quite a bit coming up. And it's really, I love the fact we're ending the year with this episode because it's really going to get you thinking about, I guess, the flavour of your marketing activity in 2022. We're going to meet today's guest expert in a second. But before we do, please do check out our sponsors. Klaviyo have a new special recipe to help you build brand loyalty. It involves ownership of your data and creates your future growth. Whether you're growing a startup or optimizing your company, Klaviyo gives you the tools you need to own and access the quality data you've sourced from your customers, the customer first data. Then Klaviyo helps you manage that data to create the campaigns that build real brand loyalty. Doesn't that sound like a gift worth owning? Learn more at klaviyo.com/holidays. Today, I'm chatting with content marketing expert Marcus Foley. Marcus is co-founder at Tommy, who work with global brands and movie studios to deliver some of the most innovative marketing campaigns of this digital era, all designed to grab the consumer's attention. Their clients include, and wait for this, guys, Netflix, Amazon Prime, TikTok, Red Bull, Coty, that's the group that includes brands such as Burberry, Adidas and Gucci, and Disney. That means that Marcus and his team are constantly pushing the boundaries of what digital PR, content marketing and events look like. Hello, Marcus.
Hello, Chloe, and thank you for the amazing intro. I said, are we going to let people down slowly from there? Because it sounds great, right?
It sounds amazing. Such phenomenal brands to be working with. How did you get to this point? How did you get into this world of kind of amazing content marketing?
Well, it started actually, and this is kind of an odd one. I fell in love with a dancing chicken. When I get out, and if you think about this, it wasn't any old chicken. It was special, right? It would dance, it would sing, it would do anything you want, and it was actually quite a subservient chicken, which was a famous Burger King stunt about 20 years ago that Crispin Porter Bogusky agency had done, and it was basically someone dressed as a chicken, and it was the sort of heralding in the new era of video marketing. And you could just type anything in and it would just respond to you. So if you swore at it, it would tell you off, or it would shake its hand. If you said jump, it would jump. If you said lie down, it would do anything. And it blew my tiny little mind because it's like, oh, wow, because it's just a set of instructions that it figured out. And it kind of like what it was is it had a profound effect on me because it's about hacking culture and thinking about the potential of digital, which is what I've always thought about. And that every generation of digital offers new opportunity to think about. And Burger King, we've seen all the marketing blogs. Burger King have been hacking popular culture since, right? Whether it's, the Whopper sacrifice when everyone was saying you've got too many friends on Facebook you don't even know. Well, get rid of 10 of them, we'll give you a free Whopper. To, starting to use out of home in an interesting way with Whopper Detour. Go near a McDonald's, download the app, and we'll give you a free Whopper. I mean, they've been doing that since. And I've always been drawn to those kind of brands and that marketing. It's just sort of, it got me there. That's kind of what got me excited about the industry.
Wow. Yeah, there is so much inspiring stuff. And I'm sure you're going to share some more examples of some of these inspiring campaigns. But it's almost like creativity run wild. And it sounds like an awful lot of fun. But of course, you have to drive results too, don't you?
Absolutely, 100%. And you say what Netflix and those brands, they talk about creating popular culture. It's like a easily banded around terms in industry, right? But no, we do, and you have to, right? And that's what it is. And where you set off with Netflix, I don't think we would do with other clients or setting examples. It comes with a lot of weight as well, and it's heavy to carry sometimes, but it's exciting and is a really exciting place to work with and work with brands like that.
And as a business, you frame yourselves up as being all about the attention economy. So can you explain a little bit about what that is, please?
Yeah, if I give a couple of minutes on this, if I can, because the thing about the attention is all about being an antidote to the zone out culture, right? And everyone's zeroing out. We know, we've seen all the numbers. We get too much content. We're fed too much. I talk about this thing that I'm a bit of a content obsessive, really, and I suppose I specialize in sameness, but not any old sameness. It's that sort of mind-numbing attention deficit kind of sameness that I know what it takes, and in truth, it's an effortless endeavor to create it, right? So the thing about sameness, it doesn't run deep, and it doesn't help hop and skip into your consciousness and dance around and leave this everlasting impression on you. And it's that kind of that kind of impression, that sort of smart deviation from the norm, and stuff's not wresting my attention from the grasp of our scrolling thumbs. So we have to think about attention in a really different way and start asking ourselves a different set of questions as marketeers. It's not about doing difference for difference sake. It's about thinking about the way the mind is working, the neuroscience, the way we're capturing people's minds, capturing their attention. Because if you're really, really truthful, people are scrolling, and you've got to think about what is becoming just viewable and what's becoming memorable. And I've become obsessed with sameness. I really have. And I do these other talks. If you ever look them up, I do talks on whiskey. Is a good start. And that's probably where this infliction starts from. I've become quite irritable when I think about with some whiskey brands and the way they market, because it starts with like a millennials with white teeth sitting around, huddled around the table with a bottle of whiskey in front, right? There you go. You've seen that picture 1,000 times. Those forced moments of togetherness, or a purpose-driven statement that's probably shallow as it is deep, right? And I became obsessed with whiskey as this overbearing sense of irritation, really. It's the root of all evil. And I was kind of drawn to the oak casts and the roaring fires and the highlands and these assisted sort of smouldering Scottish VOs, right, with their armchair smugness of achievers of satisfaction. And they were just unidentifiable, and they were just blending into each other, which is a nice little whiskey pun there, right? But I just couldn't see the flavour profile in any of it. And when I said I was drawn to it, I just didn't get it. And it was like nothingness. I felt emotionless with it, and there was no flickering on the inside. And I was fascinated by it, and it hasn't eased its like grip on me since. And I see, at best, this virtue signaling about innovation and purpose from whiskey brands. I think, it's an absolute. I'm not allowed to swear on this, right? But no. you can imagine what I'm thinking now. It is, right? And as I said to you, it's like I am a content obsessive, so it is those smallest things that I get obsessed with. So I think they have the biggest impact in marketing. I talk about craft, the work we do. I talk about those little moments, but we've only got a second and a half. We've got to think about that, And it just wasn't right. And that's kind of where this thoughts around attention, the attention economy, started for me. And really, when you start looking into the neuroscience and start thinking about the way the brain is behaving, think about creativity from the past, the way, creativity used to bring you into something and you had to figure it out. It'd be a conundrum or something to think about, right? And then when you bring something to it and go, and have that moment with something, you're making a connection to people's minds and brains, right? And if you're doing that, you're being memorable. But so much of what we're putting into the content system is just a bottomless pit of content going in, because we're trying to keep up with the algorithms, and yet we're not really thinking about how we're connecting to people's brains and exercising people's brains.
I totally get what you mean about that sameness being so dull. I have to say, sometimes I see an ad and I'm like, they clearly saw what competitor Y was doing, and the boss went, I want one like that. So they've just created essentially the same ad on a different beach. And you're like, what was the point? You now just look like them. Surely you stand for something else. And I think I've had this conversation many a time at an e-commerce big show, at the NEC or at the, any of the kind of big events we go to. And there's all these stands of e-commerce SaaS businesses and providers trying to tempt the retailer in. And you look and you go, I don't know what you do, because you're saying e-commerce simplicity or personalization, but I still don't know what you actually do, because it's just this kind of not actually standing out. And we kind of, I guess what you're saying is we can't, just being crazy is not the solution. We've got to find out a way of standing out which fits with our brand, fits with our values, fits with the customers we want to achieve. So just hiring a crazy influencer to be in our ad is not the solution, is it? We've got to be a bit cleverer than that.
We talk a lot about digital brand worlds, right? It's not just about your branding, but it's about that tone of voice. It's about what you portray. But I also talk about the active energy, the pace, those things that are identifiable you and no one else. And when I do the talks, and you have to really think about all these things together. And you talk about cloud solutions, right? Well, how many B2B marketing? I'll tell you a story. I met Adobe when we started to work with Adobe, and I met the B2B division for the first time. And look, we're Netflix, right? So we're very consumer led. We're not a B2B agency. And she said to me, and I think she was trying to catch us out. She said, "You've got no B2B experience, have you?" And I went, "No, it's great, isn't it?" And she went, "What?" And I sort of said, "Well, we're all human, right?" And I said, "And I promise you, we're not going to do the same as everyone else in the B2B market." And it's not about like be crazy and create. It's like, no, you've got to create points of difference. If I took the word for every single cloud solution business and map 20 of them up against each other, you can just swap them over and swap them around, right? So what is it about? You have to really craft about that thing about you that pulls, makes it identifiable you and no one else. Otherwise, you're selling cloud solution. You're not selling your brand cloud solution. It's quite important differentiation.
So we're talking big brands here, but of course the audience are in the e-commerce space. And how does an e-commerce brand start to do this, especially the ones with the lower budgets? How do they start to take this route of differentiation to create these kind of interactive content moments and campaigns that can help them stand out from the other people selling the same product as them?
Well, it's interesting. It's a big question I could discuss for hours on that, because it's like, well, it's all very easy for the big brands, but you watch these emerging brands and where they come from, and you think about it. So Nice is one of the drink brands, and if you look at some of their marketing and look at their Instagram feeds and look at the content they're putting out, they haven't got budgets, and yet they are outperforming a lot of the big holding drink companies, in my opinion, because it's very unique content. It has a tone of voice. Sometimes it's about, if you're a smaller business, it's about having someone who's got that right tone of voice and is very, very sociable if you're going to be pushing out a lot of social content, to sort of, be a bit more human. We'll talk about that a bit later, right? Authenticity, human-centric marketing in a digital economy, connecting to people in really interesting ways that's not happening now. So there are ways of doing it. You have to be just very smart with it. I got sent this thing called the Rochambeau Club on the other day, and I was like, and it's like this sort of throwback 1970s South of France exclusive members club, or I thought it was anyway. And the content's incredible. It's all quite dreamy like, and very, it's I think it's Aston Martin's, and but you start reading the content and you realize it's actually a wine brand that's about to launch. And I know it's like 3 guys in East London who live there, and they've got no marketing budget behind this, but it's one of the most cleverest sort of Instagram feeds and pieces of content I've seen. So people are just crafting that in really, really interesting ways, crafting that personality or that content. It's no different to, I'm a fan of Leon restaurants, right? Living in London, for those of us who live in London will know them. And I've worked with John and Henry from Leon, but they, originally used to go into the Leon restaurants. On the wall, they have all the pictures from the childhood and all the stories from the 60s and the 70s. They're not real. They're pictures they've bought. Right? There are a couple of pictures from them. It's about creating story, creating brand, and creating those things that helps you be distinct. So in essence, in short, it is about crafting that content and just thinking about it in a way that's not, it's not about put another image up and then just put some copy in there on your post and that's your job done. It's not. You have to think about how you're connecting to people to connect.
Personally, I think that the smaller brands have it easier than the bigger brands, because you can buy authenticity, you can buy powerful marketing, but you have to have the right strategy, the right identity, the right mission, vision, whatever it might be at the center of your business. Mm-hmm. And that kind of has to be strong and pure and solid. and well understood by the team. And that bit is much, much harder to do as a big business than it is for a small business, which I guess is why those three guys in the east of London who have come up with this wine brand have been able to do it so well and so clearly, because there aren't the corporate voices fighting over the identity. So I figure like it's a real way in which the smaller guy can take a march on the bigger guy.
I think if I got my go-to brands if I'm doing content classes with anyone, we would sort of talk. Pretty Little Thing is one that I find fascinating, right? Fast fashion. But if you look at Pretty Little Thing, their purpose statement, they celebrate everybody. And it is really, truly every body type. Everything's on there. And, women look fabulous and amazing. It's not about your body size, but it's about celebrating you as a woman and womanhood and sisterhood. But I think the marketing team embody and encompass everything that they talk about. You can just tell it's not a tone of voice they've developed. It's just them, right? Mm-hmm. And then you look at the social content and the feed and the way they talk and interact and create community content, and that it's probably because they have people in there, as you said, which is easier for them to have young people who really get what these the social channels, the tone of voices, and how to connect with people, the communities of like-minded people and who care for things that you care for, without it being a purpose-driven statement that a 50-year-old marketeer like myself has had to sort of, develop with a strategist and come out and think, yeah, I think we're there now. Should go and say that to the market. And you can see the difference, right? You can see the difference. So that's probably a bit more about the marketing teams, ensuring they've got the right people in their marketing teams as well to really, bring a human side. We're going to say human quite a lot today. I've got a feeling.
Now, Mark, as I said the word TikTok in your intro, and I know You've been doing some super clever stuff with TikTok. So without trying to take too big a change in direction, how much should we be paying attention to what's happening on TikTok? How much should we be on TikTok as an e-commerce brand? Should we be there? Should we just be watching? Should we be taking inspiration from there? Where do you see TikTok for the e-commerce world in 2022? There you go, massive question for you there.
Well, I'm going to give you a short. I can give you a short. I can give you a 10-minute answer. How much should you be on TikTok? Lots. So, there's the short of it. Mm-hmm. You should be on there lots, right? That's not very helpful to anyone listening, right? I doubt that. But TikTok has become, in essence, one of the most culturally important platforms, and what the content culture of TikTok is seeping out everywhere, and the behaviors on TikTok are really changing the way we should be thinking about everything that we're doing in marketing. I'll start with, because that's a big question. We've probably talked. There's different parts of that, right? I think about you think about the creator economy. So we're all reading about the creator economy now, and so brands need to have a bit of a rethink on that. And if you think about as marketeers, you talked about influencers early. Influencers created their following through carefully curated lives, right? And they're human billboards that just had the attention of the brands. You could easily slot into their world. It was polished, it was edited, it was perfection. The thing that's causing a lot of people anxiety is, right, because it's quite hard to keep up with. Now, creators, they harness their own talents on a topic, and they create content that's inspirational, entertaining, educational, it's engaging, but they know how to create content and grow sticky communities, right? And they leverage their audiences in different ways. And in the simplest terms, influencers monetize audience, and brands and creators monetize their audience directly. So it's really interesting. Like, the business models are changing. If you've only got to look at what is happening on TikTok with creators and the way it's working, it's a fundamental shift in the way we think about everything. So when I do my content classes, master classes, I'm like, think about even how influencers are doing. How can you then become more of a human brand and think about this? The way they are working on TikTok is really important, right? So there's a fundamental shift there in terms of influencer marketing and the content. Second part of that, the big thing that's going on with TikTok right now, they talk about, there's a great piece of research they've been doing. It's about joy and authenticity, which I'd love to talk a bit more about, really. And it's it's a space for joy, TikTok, and a space to be authentic, and it's a space to engage and truly entertain. That's what it is, right? So brands that understand this can contribute to the TikTok experience, but in return, they're going to benefit from huge reach and engagement on the platform because it's there, right? And that's kind of fascinating, because I think it's profound change going on next year with that. And obviously, we'll talk a bit more about the TikTok to shop talk. I think we were talking about earlier, and that sort of fundamental change in the way we're shopping right now. And TikTok is, where it becomes more natural. TikTok is, in short, right, it's designed for discovery. That's what the audiences tell you they're for. It's a source of inspiration. So every swipe gives TikTok a new thing, right? And it's part of the conversation. So what happens on TikTok doesn't stay there. It goes and seeps into culture and influences everything. So, if you go and watch TikTok and go down those rabbit holes of all sorts of places you can go, it will teach you so much. I know it's an obvious thing that we get taught, like, but just go and spend time in there and look at the creators, look at brands, look at people. It will teach you so much. And TikTok's built for creativity. Now, because that line, don't make ads, make TikToks, right? But TikToks is all about creativity and experience. And brands who are doing really well in there are flourishing in there because they're going in and being creative and showing an authentic side, and they're adding to the TikTok experience as opposed to making an ad and going in there, right? Mm-hmm. So it changes all that. The numbers in there are insane. I mean, the numbers are insane. And because of the way the algorithms work and everything else, highly niched audiences, you can find the people that are going to be really buy into what you are, whether you're a small business or a large business. And that's something that's uniquely different about what TikTok's doing. And then all the fundamental change that's going on with TikTok and Shopify and augmented reality and all the other things that we'll probably talk about now.
We will. But I just want to clarify what we're saying here on the TikTok front is we should all be watching it. And some of us will just take inspiration to use elsewhere. And some of us will go, oh, I want to dive in and get busy in this space. And both of those are okay reactions, aren't they? But you've got to be aware of what's happening there.
Yeah. And successful brands are expressing themselves with us, as opposed to, like, if you think about that, for those people who follow the marketing models, Philip Coulton's marketing models, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who do and I don't, but product-centric marketing versus human-centric marketing, right? So product-centric marketing is like, our sneakers are great, right? Human-centric marketing is Nike, right? Don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough. Just do it. TikTok is human-centric marketing in its purest essence. And like a couple of years ago, we're trying to learn how to not force our messages down people's throats because people don't like ads and they're not connecting with them because there's a lack of attention. TikTok is all about human-centric marketing. For brands who are going in there, adding to the experience, they're doing really, really well.
Are there a couple of brands it would be great for us to take a look at on TikTok who are like, don't copy them, but take inspiration from how they are bending their messages?
Yeah, there's different ones. We've been working with L'Oreal, and we work with a number of L'Oreal brands on there. So just go and have a look at some of the L'Oreal brands on there. The way they're treating creators and influencers, it's a fundamental change. The way they're thinking about live commerce, it's just it's amazing what they're doing. And they're obviously for organic and paid content. They're using augmented reality to do product trial and all those things. So I think look at L'Oreal. They're amazing. I'm going to go back to Pretty Little Thing. Go back to them, because if you go on their TikTok, what's really interesting, I saw a piece of content the other day, and it was one of the marketing team talking, but they've got their laptop up and they're filming their laptop and they're showing a product and they're talking you through it. It's like a real person talking to you. It's lovely. It's not a to-face thing, but it's just even the way they're in there, like they're either being helpful or guiding you or showing you something or doing something. So they're some of the best practitioners. We did a piece. This is not a plug because I'm not here to plug my agency, right? We just did a piece for the Weather Channel, right? For IBM Weather Channel. Like, how the hell, millennials, Gen Z aren't interested in the weather, right? Are they really? And like, how do you make the Weather Channel interesting on TikTok? Well, we've just done some pure advertising pieces, and basically it was, the Weather Channel's it's all about accuracy, and one of the biggest themes on TikTok is tricks and stunts, right? So it's like the accuracy of stunts. We've got a woman throwing an axe behind, she's not even looking, it lands in the bullseye. We've got ping pong balls bouncing. It's like accurate, just like the Weather Channel. But what they've done, IBM, and you have to force people and not let them play away. It's like they've really created content that sits really well within TikTok and doesn't jar. Mm-hmm. And is actually, so you even at something like that, the paid advertising on there can add to the TikTok experience, even though it's an advert. So yeah, there's lots of great examples of that, I think.
Now, you teased us with the mention of TikTok to shop earlier. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that is and how, because that sounds like something an e-commerce brand needs to know about.
Well, I put the talk together at the beginning of the year because I started to think about the new frontiers of product trial, right? And I've started to say this a little bit too much, but I remember seeing a piece we did for Nutrice, and it was changing your hair color. And it was an augmented reality piece. You could shake your hair and it would just change the color of your hair. And it looked super real, like really real. And it blew my tiny little brain. That's the thing I've got to stop saying, by the way. I do have a tiny little brain, but I do that. But it was the ease of product trial, how quickly you could change your hair color and then drop, really from there, drop something into the shopping basket. So it's the speed in which that transformation is unbelievable. And it's like, oh, wow. And that's probably why we've done 130 campaigns this year with augmented reality of all shapes and sizes and various things that we're doing, because it allows people to interact. It allows people to take hold of your brand and do things with it, and it's fascinating. And then that's kind of where the talk around, we talked about that new age of influence and the evolution of commerce really is what the talk was about.
Okay, cool. And so it's really about kind of starting to create that step between the TikTok content and that call to action without it being too buy.
100%. Well, the evolution of commerce and that shortening gap is about who we buy from now. So it's about who we buy from constantly changes, and that's what's changed. We buy from people we follow rather than necessarily going to the physical store or going to the brand's websites. And social commerce represents that ultimate merging of, like, I put these lines together, I think they're really good, right? Money and influence, economy and culture, self-monetization and self-promotion, right? But it's all coming together in its sense and turning that consumption into creativity. And we're monetizing people's attention. We're monetizing people's attention because they're in there and they're hooked and they're looking for the next thing. And that even though there's been the pandemic, and I promised myself I wouldn't use that word today because I thought it's a word I didn't want to use, but because the pandemic has given a large shift towards e-commerce on social. It's really, really, really accelerated that, right? And I think TikTok to shop and TikTok and Spotify's latest release is part of that shift on social networks to create content and have a shopping path to a basket really, really rapidly. And that's whether that's on Twitter's latest product release or TikTok or wherever that is. So that's good. And the other thing it does is it opens up that the thing I was talking about is the collective review power of TikTok, which is brilliant. And God, I'm going to say Nike again, and people switch off when you do that. But there's a great example. I think I'll have to find the reference to you. We'll share it later. It's something gold from Nike, but it's all about collective review power. It's like they want to put the community together. And, basically it's about how good they all look. And it's about things that are really important to them, things that mean something to them and product they want to buy. But it's doing it the way Nike do it. And it's all about that collective review power helps people sell product. And it's that's sort of that inspiration meets conversation meets commerce, which is so exciting. And it's going to have a profound impact next year. It really is. So get yourself ready, get it, get stuck in. That's the message, right?
Definitely, because it's not what I'm really taking from everything you're saying, Marcus, is that this is not a linear thing. We don't go to TikTok and just put up some posts. We go to TikTok and we put up some posts and we recruit some creators to talk with us. We engage our customers and get them to talk with us and get involved. We create augmented reality pieces that people can use to kind of to explore our brand ever further, and then we potentially add some ads over it, and then we potentially take that content, we put it somewhere else. So we can't think in this, there's my TikTok strategy, or my TikTok posting strategy, there's my Instagram strategy, there's my this. We have to see this kind of blurring like a human being would blur their activity across everything. We've got to kind of behave more humanly, which I guess comes back to your point on authenticity.
Absolutely. And I think those who are successful on TikTok are in there and live and breathe it, right? So that's kind of an obvious thing to say, but yeah, don't just think about the posting of something. I mean, people are doing it on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll go back to my whiskey post, right? So they'll have the millennials again around the table with some food on the table and the whiskey, and then it's like a post, right? And that's it. And I think that's the brand. As brand marketers, we've done our job, and we'll pick some off the social calendar like Chinese New Year tick, and we'll put some Chinese things on the table, the tick, and then put the whiskey bottle there and tick, our job's done, right? No, you have to think very, very differently about that. And a lot of the content strategies that you see had the same piece of content on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. That's not going to work on it. That's not going to work on TikTok. But let TikTok teach you how you should think about Instagram and how you should think about Facebook or Twitter or Snap or some of the other products, I think.
It does seem to be like you can take a TikTok and use it on another platform because it's just superior. But you on the others, you've got to really it doesn't work in reverse, I guess, is what I'm supposed to be trying to say here.
Absolutely. And I don't know if I should go into the small business thing now, because I said I sort of thought about this and I thought I should share some small business things. So I know I'll reference the Nikes and the Netflix and the bigger brands. But, it's really interesting that if you look for small business, anyone who's listening and who's a small business, there's a huge diversity of subcultures and communities and fandoms for every business on TikTok. Doesn't matter how large or small, there's something for everyone. There's an audience right there, right? And their shopping habits represent what is important to them. So if you look up, for example, the hashtag small business love and shop small business, they've had millions and billions of views because they want people who are really into, ensuring that they support local businesses and small businesses. And, we do it in where we live, but actually people do it as well through social. Thinking about Black Friday, there's the support Black-owned business and Black-owned business has nearly 1 billion views, which is wonderful. So it doesn't matter, and those subcultures go deep. And let's talk about crocheting, right? Crocheters of TikTok, I've got the notes here, 735 million views. Craft ideas, 300 million views. Mums of TikTok, up for the mums, right? 2 billion views. Cocktail recipes, hundreds of millions. I mean, it's all in there. So, if you spend, rather than going really wide on your media spend just to try and get a small amount, you can go for that small amount and they're all there. And if you do it in the right way and be really authentic and find your audience, that'll do it. And the algorithm will prioritize that content to people because the algorithm is so clever on TikTok, right? So if you are in that niche and hashtagging and doing the right content, it will find your audience for you. That's important.
There we go, everyone. Some super practical tips there. Marcus, we are now going to pause for a reminder of our sponsors, and then we're going to talk about even more and get the insider tips out of you too.
Great.
Klaviyo have a new special recipe to help you build brand loyalty. It involves ownership of your data and creates your future growth. Whether you're growing a startup or optimizing your company, Klaviyo gives you the tools you need to own and access the quality data you've sourced from your customers, the customer first data. Then Klaviyo helps you manage that data to create the campaigns that build real brand loyalty. Doesn't that sound like a gift worth owning? Learn more at klaviyo.com/holidays. Okay, Marcus, so far we've gone deep into kind of everything, actually. I was going to say interactive content, but we've covered a lot. Now you get to wow us, though, with your insider knowledge about the whole of content marketing. So for the following questions, your answer can be anything to do with content marketing, which does of course even include everything we've already talked about. So Marcus, are you ready for the insider tips?
Go on then.
Okay, we're going to start with Newbie Advice. If we've inspired someone to take their first step into this area today, what do they need to know to give themselves the best chance of success?
First of all, follow TikTok for business, right? Everything's there, everything you need, right? And if you're just starting up, here's the thing. Mix and match organic and paid content is the best way to boost your presence. The 10 or 12 things they'll tell you to do is like create the perfect profile, which is an accurate representation of yourself, engage your audience, create content that keeps the users coming back. We've talked about that a bit today. Keep posting regularly, double down on anything that's really good. Tell your stories, be authentic, be human, whatever that is, but tell your stories, but be authentic. You don't have to be perfect, which is wonderful, right? Because we're not all perfect. We don't need to be. So, where we really, when we're doing our advertising in other places, we mull over and some of the smallest things for days. It can go backwards. You don't need to do that on TikTok. If you're too slow, you're too slow. It's not good, right? And then be a trend follower. So that's a bit of a weird advice, but understand the trends on TikTok and jump in there and work out what's practical for you, and show your face. Let the audience, that thing I talked about, pretty little thing. Talk to the audience. Show your face. Become real on there because it's good to do that. And focus on giving value. Not going viral is really important because then, as I said, you can actually find your smaller communities and have a much deeper conversation with them, which is really exciting. So that's tip number 1 for the beginners.
Excellent. God, it's given us all a lot to think
Was
about.
that 11? That was a 10 or 11 tips there, wasn't it? Within one tip. Sorry,
There were
cheating.
plenty. I think we given plenty on that one. Okay, Marcus. Now, once you've started, of course, you've got to keep optimizing. So what's your favorite way to improve content marketing performance?
Oh, well, definitely. Like, use TikTok branded effects, right? Because that's what we're doing a lot of on TikTok. And the AR explosion is bringing storytelling to a whole new level, but it invites the users to tell your story as well. Look, and I'm going to say pandemic for the second time, but because of our devices, we're used to pointing and clicking and opening up things in AR. So it doesn't matter if you're putting an AR piece, you can use it on both TikTok, but you can also use it on an out-of-home poster or a bus shelter or anything, right? People are used to pointing and clicking and opening up augmented reality. TikTok and branded effects are amazing. I mean, the numbers you get, because you are giving people stuff that they can use, look great, do their own version of, and then they share, right? That's shareability. That's, back to viral. So that's definitely something I'd recommend.
Excellent. Okay. If someone listening wants to learn more about all of this, is there one cheap or free resource you'd recommend? TikTok
for Business. So it's on there. Just go, sign up for it, Google it. You'll get great. You'll get great reports, great thinking. I mean, TikTok is swiping up all the best strategies in the marketplace at the moment, right? So they're really going quite deep on some of the things that they can teach you. But I think it's great. And also on there, another little tip is because we've talked about it today. They've got the TikTok Creators Marketplace, so you can go in there. And you can, you can take 3 easy steps they talk about. So you can find your relevant creator, invite them to collaborate and get insights. You can set budgets, all those things. It becomes really easy to do. So, even TikTok will help you. If you're not a sophisticated marketing machine where you know what you're after and you're going through the influencer marketing agencies, then there's quite an easy way of using it on the platform as well.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to add a little one in there as well, which is I know a lot of brands are using TikTok Creator Marketplace to create their Facebook ads these days, which just is mind-bending, but kind of fits with everything we've been talking about.
And I'm not supposed to be asking you the questions, but why is that, Chloe?
Because the adverts the video created by TikTok creators is so engaging, and it grabs engagement, which is what you need to be doing with Facebook ads these days. So we come almost full circle. So therefore, Marcus, it must be time for me to ask you the last question, which is, it is finally crystal ball time. What's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months we should be getting ready for?
I try to narrow this down into one or two things, but I think live commerce events. So Leslie did a piece last week, a couple of weeks ago, with the pop artist. So you could she performed, and then you could actually buy her product straight from that live concert performance, right? So that's changing the game of live to shopping basket. So I think for some brands, think about that. But the other part is I think that sort of product trial to shop. Like, you should have those clear paths. Don't make it difficult. It's really easy to do. And that is going to be something that every marketeer should be trying and testing and making sure they've got ways to shop from their social platforms.
Oh, I love that, Marcus. Thank you. Yet more super cool advice. We are very nearly at the end of the show. So could you please let the listeners know where they can find you and in your business, even if they want to find out a bit more?
So my business is called Tommy, but the website is thisistommy.com. And I think you can find me at Marcus Foley at LinkedIn. So reach out, say hello. I do talk to people. So that's quite good because I'm a human, right? So I've dropped the word human about 10 times, but I do like talking. I really do.
Well, I can vouch for that because the reason Marcus is here on the podcast today is because I saw him do a fantastic presentation at E-commerce Expo, and then I reached out on LinkedIn and he got back to me, which not everybody does by quite a large margin. And we ended up having this awesome chat for all of you guys. So awesome. Thank you, Marcus, so much for coming and sharing. I think it's an excellent episode to round off the year with, because we've gone through so many topics which are going to be crucial to success in 2022. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Chloe, thank you for the invite. And anyone got any questions, do reach out. I'm happy to answer.
So a huge pile of stuff to think about there, courtesy of Marcus. I suppose for me, the key things to take out of it are, on the big picture front, I think this very much fits in with that trend we're seeing of the creative being more powerful than the algorithms these days on most of the platforms. So having to up that story level, up the emotion, up the messaging in your content to make it stand out, to make it grab the attention. Something we're seeing a lot in Facebook ads and in In a couple of weeks' time on this very podcast, we've got a Facebook ad specialist coming on to talk more about that and what's working on Facebook ads now. I think also the authenticity side of things we've got to be doing. User-generated content, as we discussed last week on this very podcast, but again, being mentioned there by Marcus, bringing people in, bringing influencers and creators into your marketing, which works across all the channels, not just TikTok. TikTok, as weird a place as it is, and I'm still getting my head around it as a user, you do need to be paying attention to what's happening on TikTok and getting to grips with how it's changing, how consumers are having attention being driven, how creative is being created, and use that across your other channels, even if you're not going to start actively being part of TikTok as your brand at the moment. And then I guess the other thing is he mentioned, we touched in on social commerce, APIs, live commerce. These are things which you need to have in your armory of activity, I suppose, ready to go live with, ready to use, to give you the flexibility you're probably going to need in 2022 to make sure your customers, the people who want to buy from you, can buy from you where they want to. It's a really fascinating space that we're going to see a lot of marketplaces opening that tackle those niche or niche groups of customers next year. We are also going to see a lot more people buying without getting as far as your website, be that on WhatsApp, be that on TikTok, be that on the other channels. And to be able to kind of roll with the punches on that one, to be able to get your products in the right place and all the orders going to the right people and going through, and the great customer service and all the rest of it, you need a system that's going to enable you to quickly make those changes. So if you have still not yet got your tech stack sorted, get it done now, because it is going to stop you from growing your business if you haven't got that adaptable, flexible tech stack sitting behind everything you're doing. Anyway, that turned into a little bit of a Chloe rant there. So what can you do? You can get links to everything Marcus and I have just been discussing, the full transcript of the episode, important notes and more at keepoptimizing.com. There you can also sign up to our email newsletter for lots of other good stuff. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the Keep Optimizing podcast. Our whole set of episodes about content marketing is now live. So please do have a listen to them all, and make sure you tune in next Wednesday when we'll be starting our new series for January, which is 4 shows about marketing after the cookie apocalypse. So if you've got your knickers in a twist over all the ramifications of the iOS 14, 15 and impending cookie cancelling updates, then make sure you tune in throughout January, because we will be outlining the 4 key things you need to be doing with your marketing strategy in 2022 to overcome, survive it all, thrive, in fact, in this new landscape we're operating in. So we're going to be talking about zero-party data. We're going to be talking about SMS marketing. We're going to be talking about the whole lifecycle marketing system. And as I've already mentioned, and of course, we are going to be sharing what works now on Facebook ads. All those episodes, as I say this right now, have been recorded because I hunted down the best guests, and wow, are they sharing powerful tips. Each one of them is gold. So do not miss a single one of those episodes. And of course, if you know someone else who's also trying to work out exactly how to structure their marketing strategy for 2022 after this cookie apocalypse in this new landscape in which we're operating, spread the word. Let them know we are covering all of it, because this show exists to help you and to help them improve your marketing. Have a great week. Make sure you listen to the next episode, because I want to help you keep optimizing your marketing.
Access everything Keep Optimizing at keepoptimizing.com. That's with an S, not a Z.